I'll read between the lines of what that announcement is likely to be. And let me just say, Marianne Williamson is a dear friend of mine. I'm in no way unbiased where this is concerned. So let me zoom out from her and just say that overall, I think Biden's vulnerability is really underplayed in the media because Democrats actually have a dimmer view of Biden than Republicans have of Trump. And there's great understanding that Trump's position is weakened, is vulnerable to a threat. But you have a strong majority of Democrats saying, we do not want Joe Biden to be our standard bearer next time around. We do want to have choices and options. So there is an opening for someone to represent that majority of the party that says we would like some other choices here.
Just one thing that I've been thinking about a lot over the last year is like, why is there no Ralph Nader candidate that is talking about tech, that is talking about some of these like really existential questions that we face as a country from a totally outside the box perspective? And I was thinking about that on the right, but I really think Marianne Williamson is that on the left, because she has, I mean, she's already weighing in on the schedule, which is totally rigged and totally pro-Biden in a way that I think has echoes of Bernie Sanders in 2016. And she's more than capable of making those arguments, but she also has something I really like is this big picture perspective on the sort of existential problems in the United States of America. Like, she can talk about the sort of daily political fray, but she brings a totally fresh vantage point to it, and people make fun of it. Like, there's this in the Politico interview, she says, when they ask what the media got wrong about her in the last campaign cycle, she says, where should I begin? I'm certainly not anti-science. I'm not anti-vax. I'm not the crystal lady. I didn't tell people they got sick because they didn't pray enough. Basically, I'm not stupid. And like, voters can see through that stuff because if somebody is talking to them on a level that's actually really interesting, it's a critique of the Democratic Party. It is, they also say, your critics say you have no conceivable path forward. This is Politico. And Marianne Williamson responds, abolitionists would not have thought that abolishing slavery was possible. The suffragists would not have had days when they didn't think women's suffrage was possible. She's coming to this, she realizes, at a sort of 30,000 foot level. She's not jockeying to get a different Senate, to get a Senate seat, to move from the House to the Senate, or to become a governor. She's doing this as a sort of issue-oriented person who wants to move the ball forward for a much bigger conversation than who's going to be, you know, the next governor of South Carolina, or who's going to be able to sell the most memoirs. She's already done that. So I think I totally welcome this. I'm not, of course, a Democrat, but I think anything that broadens the aperture of our daily politics is healthy.
I think that's well.
And welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
Hello, my friends, my family. Welcome back to RBN Live, Nick and CJ Show. Wow, that was a deeply unserious conversation. So we explained before on the show that you guys know the Democratic Party moved South Carolina first, right? So
yes,
Marianne Williamson, despite the fact that Bernie Sanders and the progressives are not on board, we're gonna cover that soon. But Bernie is all in on Biden, guys, all in. So Marianne Williamson, without the support of Bernie Sanders, the Progressive Caucus, is going to break through South Carolina. She couldn't hold her own with a college dropout, and she panicked when seeing the RBN crew. But she's going to handle the wrath of the establishment with her primary and the president, despite the fact that Jim Clyburn is going to endorse Joe Biden in South Carolina. Marianne Williamson will overcome that with the power of good vibes and the manufacturing of consent from breaking points.
It is ridiculous. Nick, this was from beginning to end a propaganda piece that was written by a playwright for a movie. Because let me tell you, Nick, she goes like this. She reads a piece that's planted in the Politico, and I'm saying planted because it was planted in Politico, right? She reads it, and then she says, listen, she heard RBN critique. I'm best friends with her. So I'm completely unbiased because RBN pointed that shit out. So I'm completely unbiased. So let my subordinate read the script for you. And that's what we just saw. She literally had her subordinate, who was on the opposite side, say this glowing praise as if she's on her side, Nick. It was just glaringly obvious to me when I'm like, what kind of shit is this? After this take of this video, you know what she did? She turned to Crystal and said, "Was that okay, boss? Was that okay?" Go ahead, Nick.
I don't know if you guys caught the cringe. Here, I pull it up because I saw it was very easy to pull up because she was getting roasted for this. Despite the cringe coverage of Breaking Point, you can tell they're doing a PR piece for Marianne Williamson. They even read her press release on this, which was horrible. And they don't even know. They passed it off as a good thing. Let me pull the quote up.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I don't know if you was let me. There you go. Do that. Sorry, my thing was messing up. No. So, despite the madness that was going on Breaking Point, let me read to you what they said. And this is the quote they read from Marianne Williamson. This is the question they asked Marianne. Your critics say you have no conceivable path forward, that running again is a vanity project. Which me and RB, we exposed that.
That's exactly what we said.
Literally anyone who is not Marianne Williamson's friend will say she has no chance. This is nothing more than a vanity project. And then you have her friends that is manufacturing consent for her. There's no polls. There's no evidence based on her previous performance, based on just the basic fact that Bernie couldn't get it done, Nina couldn't get it done, but she's gonna get it done despite the fact Democrats gonna rig it more for Biden. It's ridiculous. So everyone knows this is true. So you want to know what her answer to that is? The same way I asked her, why should people donate to your campaign if they're workers? And despite the fact that Bernie betrayed her, she said, "Oh, if you feel that way, don't donate to me." Look her answer when she is surrounded by more professional managerial class people. Abolitionists would not have thought that abolishing slavery was possible. The suffragists would not have had days when they didn't think women's suffrage was possible. So she's comparing her running a campaign and stealing money from the working class so she can write a book later to abolitionists.
It's ridiculous.
This is beyond absurd. You guys understand? People was killed for siding with the Negro being nigga lovers and shit. Like there was real societal threats to your life for being an abolitionist in Missouri. They teach you about the conflict between Missouri and Kansas all the time here. And the white people were abolitionists that was cut off from the social circle. Like it was a lot of sacrifice that came from being a Jim Brown who was executed, for example, right? So she's comparing her running this vanity project where she siphons money from the working class to pay her friends $100,000 a year consulting gigs, and she compared that to abolition. This woman is deeply narcissistic, and it was shown in our conversation. She
Nick,
can't handle any conversation without someone kissing her ass. Well, go ahead, CJ.
I was just gonna say that particular quote is what stood out to me. A lot of stuff, but top was that part when she said abolitionists didn't think, if they didn't think ending slavery was possible. I stopped the video. I rage quit right there and had to come back to the video today. I had to give it a day because I rage quit. I didn't even hear after she said the other stuff, the women's suffrage. I didn't even hear that.
Yeah,
I stopped it immediately. I said she got the audacity to do this, to want to use black people and black struggle.
Says a lot.
It says something.
And
don't think, Marianne Williamson, this is to you. Don't think because you believe in reparations or say that out loud that somehow that gives you carte blanche to just say anything about black community. It doesn't. It does not.
She feel like she was anointed by Oprah. Remember, she's Oprah's friend. She was anointed by Oprah, and now she's the ultimate white savior. The ultimate white savior.
Oprah's black? Oprah's black again? Is Oprah black again?
It depends on your definition.
Here. Like rich black people, if you're friends, if you say I'm great friends with black people, if they don't make under $100,000 a year, sit your fucking ass down. Okay? Sit your fucking ass down. If your friends are Jay-Z and Sean Combs, sit your fucking ass down, okay? Stop acting like I'm just multicultural. All your people are millionaires. Oprah Winfrey is your friend? Oprah Winfrey is a billionaire. You telling me you heard something from Oprah Winfrey about the Black community is like you telling me you ain't heard shit. It really offends me about Oprah Winfrey because billionaire Black people, you know how much good they can do, Nick, and it won't even touch their living style at all.
CJ.
Millionaires, okay, oh, I'm a millionaire, I might lose money. She could literally drop $500 million and still not have any difference in her life and completely change people's lives. CJ. She has the influence to completely break down systems, Nick, and she just sits back in her class and goes, "What's up, Martha? How's everybody doing up back here?" Go ahead, Nick. It infuriates me, billionaires.
Trader of the highest order. But then the psychology of that could go back to the question. The question was, everyone knows you stand no chance. So why are you doing this vanity project? When called out for a vanity project, her first reaction, no, I'm an abolitionist. She is projecting this image that she is here to save us. I am the white savior. Don't worry about third parties. Don't do Marxist organizing. I am going to save you. I am the abolitionist. Like that's a fraudulent slip as far as I'm concerned, because this is exactly what we criticize her for.
Nick, what is she going to do? So she's going to take money from working class people, and she doesn't even have the support of AOC, Bernie Sanders. Yeah. Not a single progressive can come out and support her. This is what the professional managerial, they don't give a fuck about how the working class is doing economically whatsoever. Oh, it's just $5 to you. That's nothing.
Yes,
to you,
exactly.
That's nothing. Stop acting like $5 is not something to working class people when eggs is over $5.
And that's the critique they can't handle, because I say, if you want to go all in on electoral politics and you got money left to spare on mutual aid, have fun, go all at it, Hoss. My question to her and to these people who push electoral politics as our savior and answer, if you are that single mother with 2 kids, but you still want to be socially active, so you set aside $15, because that's all you could afford for social issues. On RBN, we preach that everyone has a role in this movement. If you're busy working, providing for your family, you don't have time to hit the streets, do anything you can. So if you set aside $15 for social programs, to advocate for a better good. My question to Marianne and these people is, why should that person give money to you instead of mutual aid or literally anything worth a damn? And their answer to that was, oh, if you feel that way, don't vote for me. It's not a sci-fi answer. And they put themselves, she anointed herself, the professional managerial class, they anoint themselves as abolitionists, as the saviors, as the white saviors. That's why the rage come out at Black Marxists at RBN when we go to the left, when we critique them, because they're like, how dare you not be grateful? I am fighting for you. I'm your savior. That is their mindset. That is their mindset.
Sorry, I was muted. Who's promoting her, Nick? Just think about it. Now, the latest person I hear is promoter is Vaush, or Vaush, however you call his name.
Yeah, Marianne Williamson got hit with a hard interview for her first time in her goddamn life on RBN, and then she immediately went on tour and like, let me get softballs again. But she's gonna be the one who's gonna overthrow the establishment, the one who can't do anything other than softball interviews. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making is that is the working class supporting her? Is the poor? Is the multi-racial? Is the multi-generational? Who's supporting her? But Vaush, but friend of the show, and we love her, Brianna. But who's this last person we just? Crystal Ball. All of Breaking Point that you clearly can see. Cal Kalinske, like
they got the whole hood is behind her. CJ, Marianne got the whole hood.
Yeah, their hood. She brought her whole crew with her. She brought her whole infrastructure.
They're really trying to manufacture consent.
What's different? You tell me, but let's do a broad look at this, Nick. You tell me how this is different than what corporations do with elections. How is this any different?
Same thing.
How?
Same thing.
You're not having to pay for it, but you know all of them. And they're doing the same thing that the people in corporate media do for the red and blue and red team just for money. It's the same thing. Literally, Breaking Points is reproducing corporate media in the independent media atmosphere. They only use corporate media sources. They stay in the same narrative lane as corporate media. They don't bring on RBN. They don't bring on the Glenn Greenwalds. They don't bring on, maybe, I don't know if they brought on Glenn Greenwald, but the Maxes and the Aarons and the Wyatts and the Margaret Kimberlys.
Yeah, they manufacture consent.
People.
They do the same thing that Noam Chomsky criticized the corporate media for doing. They manufacture consent by cutting off people to their left. They don't invite people on that will delegitimize their ideas. They bring on, at best, dumbasses that make them look like they're on the left because they bring on right-wingers and other liberals, but they will never have RBN. They never have any of the true anti-war voices on. Now, let's go back to the whole Marianne Williamson thing, because as you asked this question earlier, what do we even get for Marianne campaign? And through the breaking points, a video, they said Marianne's gonna run a Bernie-like campaign. False. 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 That's a false statement. And I'm going to explain. And there's a reason why the Vanguard didn't invite me on their panel. And the Vanguard sent out a tweet, was like, we should invite on for the Marianne Williamson panel. Everyone was tweeting me. There were a ton of people tagging me, and they were like, no, fuck that shit.
Wait, I didn't know that. So let me back up. Let me pause right there. No, I'm not saying it's a big deal. It's just that I did see that they had a panel. And who did I see on there that we knew? We knew a couple of people. Lila from the podcast with it. I didn't watch it. No, I clicked on it and I saw who was there. Zainab was on there also. So and it was fine. But what I'm saying is I didn't know it was just a blanket. Hey, who wants to come on and talk about it? I thought they.
No, it was just a funny anecdote because I saw that tweet because people were tagging me. I'm still banned on Twitter. And I'm enjoying. I'm not missing Twitter.
Yeah, you're taking a vacation.
But I thought I was tagged in this. I'll still see my notification. I saw I was tagged a bunch of times in this damn thread, and I saw the Vanguard was like, "Who should we invite on for our Marianne Williamson panel?" Not everybody. I'm not that popular, but there was enough where I noticed my notifications. Like, God damn, all these people. So they didn't invite me on because they know we the idea so easily because
like you by yourself, Nick, or me by like you versus 5 other people.
Yeah, bring the whole panel. It don't matter because think about this. They say Marianne Williamson is running a Bernie-like campaign. What did Bernie Sanders do in 2016? He popularized otherwise not popular ideas. Medicare for all and stuff was not popular, so he ran on those. What is the messaging campaign that Marianne Williamson is bringing to this election that is not already overwhelmingly popular that we know the Democratic Party is not going to give us? Nothing. In fact, Marianne Williamson agrees with Joe Biden on Ukraine.
Yeah.
So you guys want to run a messaging campaign. You guys want to siphon working class money to run a left candidate where she has no criticism of Biden's foreign policy.
Which is the front and center thing right now. So, because in past elections, Nick, they can say, hey, nothing's going on. We're not a major war. So who cares about foreign? You can't say that now. We're talking about nuclear Armageddon. We're talking about now. We can't have somebody soft on foreign policy whatsoever.
You're going to challenge Biden, but you are not calling him out for the worst things he's doing.
Yeah, no.
Funding genocide, arming Taiwan, and escalating with China. No criticism of that. They're coming from the Bernie Sanders NATO left. In fact, they hate China. Look at Ro Khanna, what he said. Yeah. No criticism of Ukraine. No criticism of NATO. But you're going to be the left representative that run against Biden. This is beyond a joke. There was a rally, amazing rally. Thousands of people, over 1,000 people there. Savvy Sav was there. It was amazing. This is why I was about to talk about my intro first. So I think it's a good time to talk about it because you see why people wanted to prevent people from organizing because you see all these amazing pictures. Hella man, I'm bad on Twitter. And so I can't say anything, but I've been watching Savvy, all these pictures, all these people coming together despite political beliefs. It's amazing. People standing against the war machine. Now people got right about now what I told you guys, despite who it does not matter who goes. It does not matter because now there are people writing about this. Now people are like, why are they protesting the war? That's the only thing that matters.
Yes.
The only thing that matters.
Conversation has been started.
Rage against the war machine was trending on Twitter, and then Ukraine was trending on Twitter, and everyone was talking about, oh my God, are these people Russian apologists? Are they right about NATO? Are they right about the war? That's all they're talking about, and that's exactly the point. We want to.
I saw one that said rage against the Ukraine war for the Russian state or something like that. Like there's a flyer now that looks very similar to the actual flyer that they have. Or I'm sorry, graphic is what they say now.
It's beautiful.
Crazy.
Like if you guys haven't seen it, look at the picture. There's these people. They're socialists, they're libertarians. All these people, they're white people, they're black people. There, all the people to come together to protest the war. And at first you can tell. I know you don't pay attention to this stuff, CJ, but you can tell the boutique left could not wait for this motherfucker to flop, and they could not wait. So they was like, I cannot wait to talk shit to see no one show up at this rally. But now they've been dead silent, CJ, because there was a ton of people there. And now they're planning another rally in a few weeks. These things are infectious. Now, the conversation about the Ukraine war and endless war and nuclear war is permanently etched into political discourse. That's why it doesn't matter that a podcaster was there that you did not like. Because at the end of the day, that does not matter. None of these things that the online love, the people who don't log off, the things these people say, oh my God, you're going to legitimize it. None of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is raising awareness on the issues that you guys agree with, which happened at the Ukraine war, at the rally. Raising awareness about the Ukraine war, driving discussion. And I've seen liberals melting down about this. I've seen Ukraine flag Twitter. I've seen liberal crowd Twitter. They say, oh my God, I can't believe what Jimmy Dore said. He said NATO and Zelensky's that far at this. I'm like, you see, now them melting down is a good thing. Because now they're spreading our ideas on accident. Because they're rational people that be like, wait, what do they mean by that? See, you guys see
as loud as those people are, as loud as the people who are projecting, oh, what do you mean crazy? There's some people in that same group going, wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and then they're gonna look into
that's what we need to reach. You're not gonna get everybody.
Yeah,
you're gonna as long as you get somebody. You got to deprogram propagandize net, and you scoop through the people. Most of them gonna go through the net, but you're gonna get a few people, and that's all you can do.
Jimmy Dore is trending today. He's been trending for the last 2 days because the collection of anti-imperialists posting his speech and a bunch of liberals melting down and showing his quotes that they think will work, which will only work in their circle jerk. But there's people seeing these information like, I didn't know that. That's the point of these rallies. That's the point. These rallies did not lead to immediate action. People say, well, this rally is not going to lead to the end of the war. And that's not the point. It's about spreading awareness. There's such a lack of intellectual and revolutionary discipline in this country. People don't know how this shit supposed to work. You got to constantly do action like these and educate the public by driving and dominating the discussion. That is what made Bernie Sanders efficient in 2016. You want to know who was not at this rally that I just described to you guys? Marianne Williamson, not there. Bernie Sanders, not there. You know this rally we had Medea Benjamin from Code Pink. You had libertarians, you had socialists, you had Jill Stein, you had eco-socialists together with libertarians. This is what the ruling class hate. But Bernie Sanders wasn't there. Why? I'm legitimately asking you guys. It's almost like the NATO left and the boutique left are here to divide the workers. They're here to engage in red-blue tribalism. There was the number one people I've seen talking about this rally, trying to disparage it, and the people who still Bernie Sanders stamp. You know, it's all the TYT accolades was against it.
I haven't even been hearing this. I haven't been hearing this stuff. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, though.
That's my role.
It's so ridiculous.
My role.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm the hawk. I'm here to show you guys. I see what you're saying, and I'm here to explain to you guys why there are traitors to the working class. Not the best we have. They're traitors. They were traitors. So they were here to divide the working class. Constantly accuse people of being red-brown alliance. You can't organize with this person. Meanwhile, Ro Connor's friend is Bill Kristol. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is still apologizing for the war criminal Joe Biden, which we're going to get into here very soon. So you had this massive anti-war rally. They didn't show up. Bernie didn't show up. Marianne didn't show up. We had a Medicare for All rally, which I spoke at. They didn't show up. They're not going to show up to the worker strike back. In fact, Marianne scheduled her campaigning election on the same day.
You believe that?
As worker strike back, because she's like, I don't want anything to do with this outside duopoly shit. I am comfortably inside the duopoly, which is why we don't get invited on panels, because we are the duopoly left. Go ahead, CJ.
No, you know what we don't talk about enough is that she's not doing a dirty break. So that means this is just going to go back to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Why is nobody talking about that? Why is nobody saying that about her campaign? Because there's no more dirty break conversation. Do you notice that, Nick? That has been totally debunked by you and Sabby and RBN. Totally exposed that's not going to happen. Destroyed. So
they don't even pretend anymore. They stop pretending too. Her media people. After our interview, they were swearing up and down that she was like, "Y'all promise you're gonna do a dirty break." After our interview, they were she said they stopped saying that shit too.
They don't say that no more. No, that's the point. They don't. I'm not hearing that at all anymore. So it's crazy. But
they were trying to trick people for as long as possible. They were trying to drag this lie out that she was going to do a dirty break as long as possible until she can siphon as many people into the Democratic Party as possible. And then she's like, "Oh, I'll change my mind. We can't do it." And then there's going to be people going to be pissed at her. But we cut that head off the snake immediatly before she can trick people that there was even an illusion that she was going to do a dirty break. And even if you support third parties, the last point I'll pass you. I know I'll pass you.
I'm sorry.
My last point is, even if you're a third party advocate, why would you want someone to be the leader of a third party movement when she don't even strongly believe in an idea? If you need someone like Joe Stein or someone who can go on neoliberal platforms that can take opposition and can strongly state why the third party route is successful. Marianne Williamson would be there like, "Oh no, I just did this because Democrats are mean to me." She don't even believe in the strategy, but that was your leader. But sorry, CJ, go ahead because go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, did you want me to bring up that video? And I don't know if you saw, Matt Duss has been going. I'm gonna I saved it because it was actually the original opening video was the Matt Duss video. Then I was like, you know what, Nick is gonna be doing some Bernie Sanders breakdown, and that's when I can insert it.
Oh, this is Matt Duss doing what? He's talking about Ukraine.
He is talking about Ukraine, and he's been doing this tour on this article he wrote about the Biden doctrine or something. So he goes on Majority Report with Sam Cedar, and they're it's in the first like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just like, wow. He basically says neoliberalism is over because Biden said that.
I throw that in the Bernie segment.
I'll wait for that.
I think that'd be a good time to put that. I'll let you know when to interject it. I think that'd be work well there. But with that said, I think that's a good intro. CJ, I'll pass it for you for
I can do something.
And I can lead with the first story because, like I told you, CJ, I have quite a bit to kind of break down. We're gonna start with Blinken on Meet the Press. And I'm gonna go from there. I got a lot of breakdown. It's gonna lead.
You have it, or you want me to bring up?
I have it. I can DM it to you. Cause I know it's better generally when you share. So I'll put it in the DMs. I'll put it in the private chat.
Okay.
And so you can play it. So I have here. So go ahead. You can do announcements.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this. Mondays are always packed, so we have a lot of stories today. But first off, let's like the stream. We have 350 people watching right now. So how about 300 likes? Let's see if we can push to 300 likes. We're currently at 160. So let's double that. Let's do that. 150 people hit that like button. Let's get us to 300 like. I see the video. Okay. I'm going to bring up that video, Nick, in just a second here. And then now let's go to our Substack. Our Substack, we're going to start actually writing maybe short op-eds, but or short little write-ups about, for example, I'm going to be covering the medieval times strike that's going on. They just went on strike, I think, last Friday. So I'll be covering that, and then I'll write up a little thing from the interviews I do with the employees out there, and put it on the Substack. So that will be added sooner than I thought, or gradually adding that. So join our Substack if you want notifications, and if you want to know when we begin to do those write-ups. If you want notifications when we go live or when we do clips, join our Substack. We also will be sending out the Discord link sometime this week for all of our Substack users. So make sure you join our Substack. For that reason, too, we crossed 31,000 a couple of days ago. I think we're at like 31,200 at least. So I'll put that up here. 31,200. So thank you for those who subscribe all the brand new people, all the people who helped us get here. We really do appreciate that. Also, check out our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. You can check out pictures. You can check out links to our profiles and other links to our other social media. Pictures from our community work, outreach, tour from the poor, and other things like our chapter launch. Now, our chapter launch will be pushed to April. It coincides with our anniversary because our anniversary is in April. So we're going to push it back 1 month. And here is our email if you need to contact us. And last but not least, like the stream, 300 is the target. And I'll pass it back to you, Nick, for the next story.
So I explained earlier, like there's no assignment for anyone who's really anti-imperialist or leftist for Marianne Williamson, because there's no critique of Joe Biden's biggest sin as commander-in-chief. What's the point of your election? You might as well be running just a random. Why not just run for Congress if you're doing what you're doing, right? You have Marjorie Taylor Greene that's calling for Joe Biden to be impeached for his funding of Ukraine. You have the right that's calling for investigations and inquiries on how the Ukraine funding is being spent. This is how you be oppositional to the executive branch. That is nowhere to be found on the left. Marianne Williamson, Bernie Sanders, nowhere to be found on the anti-war protests and rallies, but they want to anoint themselves the leaders. So I'm going to show you guys this video where Antony Blinken is on Meet the Press. And this is part of the Biden administration. This is why you make such a good point in our intro, CJ. We said, like, you can't even do that shit where you like, I'm progressive, except Palestine, or I'm weak on foreign policy. Like, no, right now, with the unhinged Biden administration, who foreign policy has doubled down since Trump, even Noam Chomsky has said so, them escalating World War III, them arming Nazis, them funding genocides in Yemen, them funding the fascist regime in Israel. Like, you can't ignore it now. If you do, why are you challenging Biden? Where is your criticism of the ruling class? So this video, when you have Chuck Todd, like, bro, what the fuck here? You truly lost it. You truly lost the plot. Because I want this video to play for a bit here. Because I want you to see his action. Because now they're going to talk about the Chinese balloon incident. They're going to talk about the Chinese relation with the United States. And Chuck Todd is going to ask basic questions, not even trying to make Antony Blinken look bad, but just basic questions that Antony Blinken has no answers for, that the NATO left has no criticism of. So, CJ, let's the video play, and I'll let you know when we stop it. But I think it's very interesting to watch, and we can start it here. Go ahead, CJ.
And joining me now from Munich is the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Mr. Secretary, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks, Chuck.
Well, look, let me start with the news of the moment, at least for you. I know you just got out of a meeting that in diplomatic terms is called On the Margins with your counterpart, Wang Li of China. I have read the readout we have stated about what you said to him. I guess what I'm more concerned about is, what did he say to you? Number one, did it begin with an apology for the balloon?
Pause. You see, and that's another reason this whole thing has been absurd. And in this segment, they're going to continue to lie to you and pretend this balloon wasn't just an ordinary civilian balloon. And it's absurd that the mainstream media is still pretending, and it get worse. Let's play. I elaborate.
No, I wanted to stop it at the same spot, because when we get to the Bernie Sanders interview too, it's the complete attempt by media to frame a specific answer as if that's a given fact.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a given fact. So it's like, did they apology for what? You haven't established what they need to be apologizing for. So just wanted to insert that. It's funny we wanted to stop it.
I want to characterize what he said. I don't think that would be appropriate, although I can tell you, no, there was no apology. But what I can also tell you is this was an opportunity to speak very clearly and very directly about the fact that China sent a surveillance balloon over our territory, violating our sovereignty, violating international law. And I told him quite simply that that was unacceptable and can never happen again. We're, of course, not the only ones on the receiving end of these surveillance balloons. More than 40 countries have had these balloons fly over them in recent years, and that's been exposed to the world. I also had
what he's doing here, I had to stop it. What he's doing here is trying to say China is a menace to the world. You see? Balloons everywhere. These crazy spy balloons, these high-tech spy balloons, these military devices, as Tucker Carlson said it. That's what he's trying to do. This is a coordinated attempt, including media, to try to shift understanding of what China is or who they are, so that they can push for war. Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys seen China's reaction to this, but China's like, the West has lost their fucking mind. It's all they are crazy. It's a crazy, and the rest of the world agrees. The only people buying this are the xenophobes and the Western chauvinists and U.S. allies, U.S., UK, Germany, and these fascists, right? The rest of the world see this like, these niggas freaking out about balloons. Have you seen what they did to us? Have y'all seen the military base around China? You guys literally launched cyber attacks into Russia. You guys military bases surrounding China. The only people worried about this are white xenophobes. Honestly, no one else is worried about this shit. That's why they're not showing you the balloon. Now everyone's peeped this as well, because it was an ordinary fucking balloon. If it was Chinese spy equipment, wouldn't they be plastering that everywhere, CJ?
Yeah.
They don't have any evidence. They have no evidence of that. That's why China's like, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable that they're doing this over this. And the rest of the world sees it. And I got a story I'm gonna do later or tomorrow, depending on time. There's a study, CJ, that shows that the rest of the world, and the way the media presents it is hilarious. They said most of the world is more believing of Chinese propaganda over Western propaganda. What is happening? It's like a negative spin, but it's hilarious to me because what they were saying in that article is that no one is buying this. People hear what China's saying, they're like, okay, that makes more sense. I get to that story later. Most of the world is not buying this. But let's continue the video. It gets actually more ridiculous, CJ, because there's a point where Chuck Shaw like, hold on, what? So it gets more ridiculous. I actually surprisingly made it like 5 minutes in this video before I tapped out, because this is propaganda at its highest level. That's why I want to show you guys the insane neocons that the progressives like Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders have no criticism of. Let the video continue. It's gonna be hard to get through. Let's
an opportunity because we're here in Munich, as you know, focused primarily on Russia's ongoing aggression against Ukraine, to share our very real concerns about China's support for Russia in that war, and what we've seen in over the past years is, of course, some political and rhetorical support, even some non-lethal support. But we are very concerned that China is considering providing lethal support to Russia in its aggression.
So quick pause there, CJ.
And I made clear that would.
So the argument they are making, I'm gonna show you guys some other articles after this video. The argument the West is making, trying to justify escalating for China on the liberal side, is that, oh my God, A1, you have China. Sorry, I had an interruption. So what the liberal side is doing to justify China aggression, saying, oh my God, China is helping Russia and Ukraine. That's why we should escalate against Russia. So Antony Blinken is saying China is having plans to support Russia and Ukraine, not by sending weapons, but rhetorically. So essentially, they want to escalate against against China, because China is not going all in against Russia on the Ukraine war. So then Chuck Todd is going to be like, wait, you got any evidence of this? Let the video continue. That is the argument they are making. Let's continue, CJ.
Would have serious consequences in our relationship as well, something that President Biden has shared directly with President Xi on several occasions. Finally, I underscore the importance of having direct lines of communication, the importance of continuing to engage in diplomacy between our countries. I think this is something that the world expects of us. They expect us to manage this relationship responsibly. And so it was important that we had that opportunity this evening here in Munich.
I want to start with what I think is the newer piece of information that you're sharing, and I know that we've been reporting separately. This concern that China is considering potential lethal aid in this war to Russia. What evidence can you share with us that indicates your concern that they're going to escalate?
What evidence?
Russia, as you said, they've been helping them.
So this is the story that Biden administration planted in the media, that China is planning to send offensive weapons to Ukraine because they already got the Tucker Carlson crowd all in against China. They're trying to get the liberal crowd in now. This is on MSNBC. So they're trying to get the liberal crowd, the people who are all in on for Zelensky in Ukraine, by saying, oh, China is helping Putin in Ukraine. So they planned this story knowing that media would never question what come from the government in the Biden administration. So they've been repeating it non-critically. China may be considering arming weapons in Ukraine. So Chuck Todd accidentally stumbled to a basic question here. Decent question. What is your evidence, sir, of this? Listen to the response that Antony Blinken has to this. And by the way, before he responds, even if China did, who gives a shit? You guys.
I was just about to say that. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, I had that point as well. I didn't want to forget it. So even if they are, who gives a shit? You guys pick a side. So China can't arm their allies, but you guys can arm a non-NATO country? Ukraine is not even NATO. But you guys can arm him, but China and can't arm their allies when you guys go into full-fledged war with them? So I don't even agree with the premise. But let's go, even if we take it based on what you're saying, you don't even have any evidence. Listen to what he says.
Them rhetorically, they've been helping them maybe by buying cheap oil. But what is the other evidence that you have here that they're thinking about doing more?
Well, Chuck, China's trying to have it both ways. Publicly,
evidence, sir.
They present themselves as a country striving for peace in Ukraine. But privately, as I said, we've seen already over these past months the provision of non-lethal assistance that does go directly to aiding and abetting Russia's war effort, and some further information that we are sharing today, and that I think will be out there soon, that indicates that they are strongly considering providing lethal assistance to
evidence,
Russia.
Sir.
To the best of our.
So he didn't answer the question yet. The evidence that China is planning to provide lethal aid to Russia, and they say that China already supporting Russia and Ukraine by simply doing trade. That's what they're talking about. And the fact that China has not rebuked Putin and cut them off, they saying that is rhetorical. That's the weasel word that he threw in there. He said rhetorical support. What does that mean? Rhetorical support. So that's China saying, I don't really give a fuck about this. So now they say, oh, we got evidence. We're going to release soon. Source, trust me, bro, Zoya. That's essentially what he said.
To your point. To your point, because you're alluding to China saying we're neutral. Have you seen the latest clip? Now, you might have this part of your package. There's a clip of him saying, because he's over in Munich at this Munich, and he says, neutral, there's no such thing as neutral. Yeah, there's no such thing as being neutral. So I don't know if I'm tipping your video off, but there is a video. I can look for it and see. Yeah, I'll look for it.
See if you can dig that up. But let's continue the video, and I may be.
Haven't crossed that line yet. What form is that? But as we're sharing,
let me just back it up a little bit.
Yeah, go back a few seconds, because even Chuck Todd. This is the point where Chuck Todd like, hold up, he didn't answer my question. In a rare moment. And this is not like a praise of Chuck Todd. This show you how bad Antony Blinken is. How he can't even answer basic questions. Even Chuck Todd, like, hold on. Let me try this again. So let's play it. I love your direction.
They are strongly considering providing lethal assistance to Russia. To the best of our knowledge, they haven't crossed that line yet.
What form is that?
But as we're sharing.
Yeah. In what form?
Chuck, I don't want to get into the details in this in this moment, but there are various kinds of lethal assistance that they're at least contemplating providing, to include weapons.
Do you guys know how absurd that is?
What else?
Quick pause. I have accusation that our enemy is providing weapons to our enemy. Do you have any proof of that? Oh, I can't say it right now. Just believe me. And then it's going to come out later, and this always what happens, guys. It's going to come out later that the United States have no evidence of that, and then the media just won't report on it. They're going to move on. Guaranteed 2 weeks later, you're going to see a story. U.S. had no evidence that China was going to provide Russia with weapons. They just say stuff.
But let's listen closely to the words he chooses here. And I'm going to rewind it back about 8 seconds here.
There are various kinds of lethal assistance that they're at least contemplating providing.
That's the part I was about to point out. Contemplating providing. They're at least contemplating providing, and we can't even show you that evidence of them contemplating providing. Thinking on paper, I guess. I don't know what other form they got it in, but let's continue.
Weapons.
What else would you describe as lethal assistance that wasn't weapons?
Well, again, I'll let the information that we have and that we're sharing speak for itself. But the main concern is material.
So Chuck, how you get destroyed by Chuck Todd, bro? So he said we got evidence that China providing Russia stuff that's not lethal, even if it's not weapons. And Chuck Todd just doing basic question. Hey, what is the evidence of non-lethal? Do you have any examples of that? He's I'll just let the report come out. They just plainly are lying on TV, and Chuck Todd calls it out, and he's a joke of a journalist. Just go back 10 seconds. Let's play. Let's play a little bit so you guys see that. That's literally insane.
Well, again, I'll let the information that we have and that we're sharing speak for itself. But the main concern is material support to Russia's war effort that would have a lethal effect.
The material support.
Now you notice the changing of the word that he keeps getting pushed, not pushback, but like answer the question. So when that happens, what a propaganda starts to do is soften the language because they see that the person is trying to attack. So now you see in him softening the language, and I'm going to rewind it 5 seconds and see if you catch it here.
Main concern is material support to Russia's war effort that would have a lethal effect.
Material support now that will have a lethal effect.
Yep.
You see now, because previous question, Chuck said, well, other than weapons, what could there be?
Yeah, exactly.
He's telling you now, he's answering the question without answering. He's answering it. It is not weapons. It's something that will lead to something that's like lethal. That's now he's answering the question, Nick, but he's answering in a way to not answer it directly.
Hey guys,
he's acknowledging it's not weapons. He's acknowledging this.
And I want to make a point because I know this sounds ridiculous to all of us. Like, this is ridiculous. How can anyone believe this, right? This is why they make you have a insane disdain for Putin. And this is what Russiagate was for. To make liberals have such a hatred for Vladimir Putin and Russia that they turn their critical thinking skills off. They have a hate boner for Putin so much that they will turn their thinking skills off and think, oh shit, China is arming Russia. They will hate China so much they think that they don't even they don't need any evidence. They just need Antony Blinken saying some nonsense. But let's continue the video.
The material support, I understand you want to let it speak for itself. Can you give me a little bit more here? I mean, that's a huge charge. I mean, that is an escalate. We're at another level of escalation here. If our two biggest rivals are now in cahoots in a war, essentially against the West.
Chuck, what I want to stress is this. We see China considering this. We have not seen them cross that line. So I think it's important that we make clear, as I did this evening in my meeting with Wang Yi.
So CJ, just real quick, I'm gonna video play after this. So Chuck's like, dude, you just made a giant charge. You said that one of the biggest countries is allied with our enemy that we make people afraid of. We fearmonger against Russia all the time. You said China is arming them against Ukraine. That's a giant accusation. Please provide any evidence of that, sir. Please provide any evidence of that. And he said, and then you see how he keep walking it down as Chuck Todd continued to dress it down. At first, it was definitive. It was definitive that China is definitely doing something non-lethal to help. Lethal to help Russia out. But he was like, "Oh, they're actually considering it."
Nick, this is how you can, in an interview, dispel propaganda. Always, this is what will happen if you push back against propaganda. Always. But none of our media does it. They so rarely do it. It's literally a house of cards that if you just tap it with a few questions, and that's what Chuck is doing here. All he's doing, asking the same question. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm trying to understand, well, is it weapons? Is it not weapons? And what else could it be? And he's giving an answer. He's like, well, this is not making sense. I with all due respect, it's not making sense. So each
Yeah.
time he has to reinvent and try to give the same answer with a slightly different twist that's walking it back. And that's what you hear him doing here.
And this is why I wanted to show you guys this clip, because I made like 5 minutes in, because at this point I was watching my jaw on the floor like, dude, Chuck Todd is destroying this guy on accident. The first time Chuck Todd did any journalism was him just asking basic questions like, hey, dude, I want to be able to explain it to my liberal friends. I want to be able to explain to my friends why China's bad. Please provide evidence on my show. And he couldn't do it. And Chuck Todd like, oh shit, I'm accidentally destroying them. Go ahead, CJ. We watch this a little bit more. I move on. I think it was just super interesting. We do a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Concern to us, and I made clear the importance of not crossing that line, and the fact that it would have serious consequences in our own relationship. Something that we do not need on top of the balloon incident that China's engaged in.
What kind of consequences are you talking about? What did you share with him?
Look, I'm not going to get into that, but I can again tell you that this is something that President Biden has raised directly with President Xi.
And if he's raised it directly with President Xi, so this is not new. So
this is a good comment. I see. Big shout out to King. He said China committed thought crimes. That's essentially what Blinken just said here. I think the last statement speaks for itself. We let it play just a little bit more, because I literally think this ridiculous to speak for itself at this point. Even Chuck Todd, one of the worst journalists ever, is destroying you for asking, you got any evidence? And then he started talking about balloons and shit. Remember the balloons? It's absurd.
He's like the worst journalist. He said ever twice, like ever, okay?
I mean,
ever. He's like the worst.
I am kind of praising Chuck Todd's statement because he did a good job, but not because he's a good journalist. It's because Blinken is horrible. That's why I made 5 minutes and I could not believe it. Like, he asked another follow-up question. So let's watch this a little bit more and I'll move on. We move on a little bit.
No, again, this is something that President Biden has shared with President Xi, almost going back to day one of the Russian aggression against Ukraine. They spoke, I think, 2 or 3 weeks into the Russian aggression back last March. And at that time, in that very first conversation after the Russian aggression, President Biden said to him, it's going to be very important going forward that you not provide any direct military support to Russia.
I ended there. But my response to that, how the fuck can you say that to another country after all the people you armed, all the terrorists you armed, you're arming Nazis in Ukraine, and then you turn to another country and say they can't help their ally out.
It's
and
completely
they get
absurd.
Upset. They put the absurd lines on their enemies, and then when they don't agree with it, liberals agree with the imperialists and the neocons that China's out of control because they not listen to the United States suggestions on the Ukraine war. Of course, China looked at them when they said and say, fuck off. You want me to destroy trade in relations with my allies to help you out geopolitically? How does that even begin to make sense? So last thing I'll share here, and we can get to the video. I think the add-on too. I'm gonna show you guys just a few headlines. Not gonna dive into the articles because I want to show you guys the messaging that's coming from the establishment. I don't know why this is loading here. Let me refresh this. Here it is. It's paying for CNN. Break up the Putin Xi Jinping no limits partnership. So, as I said before, you don't need to trick the right anymore on China. Tucker Carlson and these people, Jack Posobiec or whatever, they are all in on going to war with China and escalating against China. So they need to find a strategy to get the liberals to want to go to war with China. So they already know the liberals hate Russia. They losing their mind over Ukraine. So now the whole thing is to tie Putin and Xi Jinping and like, oh my God, look at Putin and Xi Jinping. We hate Putin. Shouldn't you hate Xi Jinping too? Look, this is probably getting a headline, which is patently not true. Russia is losing in Ukraine. This is from Bloomberg. Russia is losing in Ukraine. So is China.
What?
A year later, it's clear that Xi Jinping's decision to embrace Vladimir Putin on the eve of the invasion was a terrible bet. CJ, they just say shit. Guys, you gotta know the UK economy is in absolute fucking shambles. Even Morning Joe did say, I don't know if you saw it. Morning Joe did say, like, yo, this shit is bad, son.
You
You got millions homeless in the United States.
Bad, son.
Congress cannot have, they can't have a approval rating more than 20%. It always fluctuates between 15 and 19%. Joe Biden is historically unpopular. The Congress is historically unpopular. But meanwhile, they won't tell you that Russia and Xi Jinping, people who got 70+ approval ratings, they're struggling. The quality of life and education in Russia and China is significantly better than our country. The quality of life expectancy, I don't know. Hey, by the way, liberals, women can have abortion in Russia. We can't here. Quote, who's the authoritarian state, though? So they want to paint them as losing. China expanded trade with Africa and BRICS. Lula want to grow more with China and Brazil, the largest country in Latin America. It's the West who isolated themselves. They even lost Saudi Arabia, who met with Russia and China. So what they were saying here is the exact opposite of reality. And I cannot stress that enough. They just say shit, CJ. And my last thing I want to add on this.
I have something after you to add to this same segment. I forgot about the video. I found that
I'll
video.
pass you at this part because Zelensky is doing it again. You guys see how they building this narrative that, oh, Russia, China is with Russia. China is with Russia. So you had Zelensky with this quote. If China allies itself with Russia, there will be a world war. That's Zelensky once again fantasizing for a world war. You guys see how all the media and all this stuff come together on this stuff? You got Antony Blinken do a press tour. You go and meet the press, talking about how China is helping Russia with no evidence. You got the media talking about, like, you literally Google China and Russia right now. It's a media blitz. I just put up 2 examples of it. There's a media blitz on this. And then right as it's happening, you have Zelensky that says if China allies itself with Russia, there'll be a world war. But apparently, the entirety of the West and NATO can ally with the fascist Zelensky, but China can't ally with one of his biggest partners and geopolitically strategic allies. Do you guys see the absurdity of the West that no anti-imperialist should be able to accept, that Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders have no criticism of? Bring that all around. Go ahead, CJ. You can add to the segment.
It's truly useless to be a candidate if your number one thing against him is not war. Trump picked up on it, and that's what he's
truly
doing.
Useless. Oh yeah,
you see, Trump, regardless of if he believed it, he picked up on, hey, what I want to do is stake a stance against the war. We already have right people, meaning right-wing people, who are on board with that, and we saw that with the Rage Against the War machine. Trump picked up on it. Anybody who goes against Trump will lose if they're still talking about this fucking Ukraine war. You will lose. And that includes Marianne Williamson. They got this fantasy, somehow she will be mollywopped, that's an old school word, by Donald Trump.
You had breaking points that just said that Marianne Williamson is the person that could bring together the working class and the disaffected. Meanwhile, there are thousands of people at the Rage Against the Machine rally. She's not going to get no people who support her who against ending the war because she agreed with Biden on funding Ukraine. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I want to go ahead. Let me play this video.
Let me play this video that goes with this. This is the part I was asking you earlier. Had you seen this part about being interviewed? I just finally located. It was Ben Norton who posted this video, and it's the foreign minister of the U.S., Germany, and Ukraine told the world, quote, neutrality is not an option. Let me zoom in on this.
Crazy, man.
Neutrality. Oops, there we go. Neutrality is not an option, end quote, in the West proxy war against Russia. They were implicitly criticizing the global South, which is neutral and represents 6+ billion people. And this is a short.
And the NATO left think these people are the good guys. The NATO left think these people are the good guys.
It's ridiculous. But let's listen.
Neutrality is not an option because then you are standing on the side of the aggressor. And this is a plea we are also giving next week to the world again. Please take a side for peace, a side for Ukraine, a side for the humanitarian international law. And these times, this means also delivering ammunition so Ukraine can defend itself.
As Annalena said, there is no neutral position when it comes to a war of aggression. There is no balance. We're constantly engaged with partners around.
Isn't that's exactly what they're doing with Israel and Palestine? Aren't they kind of acting like they're neutral while quietly funding them? It's so bizarre to hear a imperialist white supremacy country have this, because I mean it's just not a tradition in their own country. Look at how white culture were neutral on the enslavement of Africans and just sat back while it didn't involve them. It's just not a tradition of this country to have this point of view because we have been the aggressor 100% of the time. Let's finish out the videos a few more seconds.
On the world who have different perspectives on this, different ways that they can help. And from our perspective, first of all, again, you really can't be neutral.
Yes, we see an unprecedented unity of one part of the world that stands for principles and rules this world is based on. But we also see other parts of the world. Some are neutral, which means effectively, the support of Russia.
They're talking about the South in Africa. They're talking about the global South in Africa.
Some are calling on to seize the supply of weapons to Ukraine, which also means that Russia is going to win.
Every nation, in every.
I'll pause there because then Ben comes in. But you see the little snippets, Nick. It's just these people is about to march us into a. If Russia teams up, if there's a war. First off, the United States is going to lose in a war individually with either one of these countries, and then they team up. It's just not something. I don't understand if people understand what they're talking about here. And then have these bullies say, if you don't support a bully, then you can't be neutral in this war of aggression. This is crazy. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, it's literally the most insane ideology. Support us in our war, which it is because they supported. And they supported the side that started the war in 2014. They have a side. If you don't pick our side, you're against us. It's an insane position to take, and it shows the mindset that our ruling class have. You have Germany's officials that criticize the West for essentially strong arming their allies into supporting them in these wars, even if it doesn't benefit the countries economically. They want everyone to abandon their sovereignty in order to support the West agenda. And if they disagree, they're considered unhinged. Like Hungary is a great example. This is a very short interjection here because I just want to show this headline here. Go ahead. You had Hungary's Orban accuses EU of prolonging war. That Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, accuses EU of prolonging war. Now, Hungary is one of many countries that have been suffering because of anti-Russia sanctions, just like the UK. The Morning Joe does a statement talking about how the UK economy is destroyed, and then they can literally do the statement the next day talking about how the West is winning over Putin. It's absurd. This is a great tweet thread. Hungary reveals the cost of anti-Russian sanctions. Sanctions introduced by the EU against Russia over its military operation in Ukraine has cost Hungary's economy $10 billion, but have failed to stop the conflict. That was Viktor Orban said. And then they explained how it had a devastating impact on energy prices, raising costs throughout the economy. This is what Europe is going through. They're destroying these people's economies. And then you had the West that slander and attack Hungary. They attack Turkey. They attack anyone, anytime any cracks start to form. You have NATO, which is a fascistic mafia alliance that demand compliance out of the entire continent of Europe. And people don't think the United States haven't colonized Europe. So one last thing I'm going to interject. I'm pretty much done with stories because I know I went for a while because these stories really connect. I'm going to show you guys Marty Taylor's great story. Because you have Marianne Williamson and the NATO left is excited for Marianne Williamson, despite the fact that Marianne Williamson has no criticism of all the stuff we're going over. Sorry. I thought I had a lot of stuff that connects to that. I'm actually going to cut the story. But we show you guys how absurd Blinken is on this issue. We saw the massive anti-war rally. But we have to have Marjorie Taylor Greene be the one who vows to impeach Joe Biden over this. And I'm gonna show you this video because I don't know if liberals even know how ridiculous this is. So let's here it is. Here it is. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene vows to impeach Joe Biden for supporting Ukraine. And I don't know if you've seen this today, but Marjorie Taylor Greene has been going off on Twitter because Joe Biden, despite not visiting East Palestine, Ohio, right?
Wow.
Instead of doing that, Joe Biden does a performative surprise visit to Ukraine on the 1-year anniversary. And the media is selling this as, oh my God, look, Biden just surprised everyone. We didn't know this was going to happen. As East Palestine, Ohio is going through tragedy right now. The president is prioritizing Ukraine. So now the left has lost their position because you have Marjorie Taylor Greene and the right that has immediately pounced on this. The right now, CJ, is all over the timeline and says, Biden don't care about Palestine, Ohio. But you want to know who's going? Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to visit.
Like I said, they're going to win. I'm trying to tell you, Donald Trump is winning the election already. He's won the election because his stance on the war, singularly that stance on the war, he's going to wipe out any of the Republicans who are all neocons against him. And he's going to come in and just slay whatever Democrat that is still trying to say, let's send another billion to Ukraine. It's such an easy thing to see what's going to happen.
So let me show you this. And this is what the Bernie Sanders and the squad and Marianne Williamson should be saying. Watch Newsweek try to paint Marjorie Taylor Greene as crazy, which I'm sure she is on a lot of issues. But watch them try to paint Marjorie Taylor Greene as crazy for saying rational ass shit. I watched it and my mind was like, what the fuck is going on, man? Listen to this. Marjorie Taylor Greene warned that if Ukraine tries to retake Crimea, the U.S. should not continue supporting it, calling the concept insanity, aka common sense. They are saying the claim from the West, which we all know is not true, is that they are supporting Ukraine in a defensive manner. If you're defending Ukraine defensively and you're not engaging in a proxy war, why were you supporting attacking Crimea? Which the West keeps saying they illegally annexed. No, it was Crimea literally voted to be part of Russia.
Oh, that was fake. They say that's fake, nigga. They say that's fake. They say
but they want to call other
real
people
at gunpoint or something. What
are they want to call other people election deniers. They will call Marjorie Taylor Greene an election denier, but they say, "Oh my God, the referendums that country does, we don't like is fake. Venezuela elections are fake. Chinese elections are fake. DPRK elections are fake. Oh my God, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an election denier." Absurd. Let's continue. Look. They're not praising Marjorie Taylor Greene's politics, but she is objectively right here. And let me continue. I'll make my point later. I keep spoiling it. I'll turn. War. Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I'm reading it for people only listening. Zelensky has said the war won't be over until Crimea is returned. An insane position. Crimea is not Ukraine. Look, since Russia illegally annexed it in 2014, Crimea did not want to be part of Ukraine.
Nick, let me interject here.
They respect democracy when they overturn the will of 80+% of the Crimean people.
Let me interject here, Nick. So this is about weapons. This is about money. Because what they do, what the United States and the imperialist core, and along with Ukraine and the NATO is doing, they set these markers of we have to reach these markers before the war is over. Markers that are unreachable because they wanted to just continue. So they set these markers. Oh, if he withdraw, that's not happening. If he withdraw, if we get Crimea, that's not happening. They set these markers that are not achievable because they just want to keep milking the process. Go ahead.
Biden has reportedly been more open to supplying more military aid. Ukraine to strike Crimea, which is in the same position. So this is a video about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joe Biden. And guess who's the crazy one here? Joe Biden. He wants Ukraine to strike Crimea. You have the Biden administration openly planning the war against Russia, and liberals think Marjorie Taylor Greene is crazy for calling it out. You guys know why I'm losing my mind here? You guys think we want to say anything nice about Marjorie Taylor Greene, period? This is a reflection of how horrible the NATO left is. Let's continue. So look at this. He's the hero of the story. John Herbst, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, criticized Marjorie Taylor Greene for common sense. He says, if you're a patriot, you should welcome American support for Ukraine, a non-NATO country. It's a cult. That makes no sense. It's a very good investment in American security and American prosperity. Now, my question to you guys, are they talking about your security? Are they talking about your prosperity? Is sending weapons to Ukraine, is that going to make your family more prosperous? It's going to make you safer from the violent police thugs that live in our country that kill us? They're not talking to you. They are just out in the open, waging this war, saying, we trying to protect Western chauvinistic interests, our capitalistic domination of the globe. That is what this is about. That's what he's saying. They didn't meant to mean two things. It meant to trick you, and he also talking to his own people. We got to support Ukraine because it will help our interests. It will help the arms industry. It will help NATO expand. It will help the capitalist agenda. They're not talking to us, guys. Let me read this again. If you're a patriot, you should welcome American support for Ukraine. It's a very good investment in American security and American prosperity. And they say that, and they put that up as he's the good guy in his story. He's playing it would set a dangerous precedent to allow Russia to get away with taking Ukraine territory. That would set a dangerous precedent. Only we can invade countries and bomb people. No. So the theme I had, and this is why I apologize. I know I went long. I know I went long because my thing is why is the progressive left not doing this? Well, Marjorie Taylor, I pulled one a minute. She's on the Tweet Storm today. Very entertaining. Check it out. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, Biden didn't go to East Palestine, Ohio on President's Day. He went to Ukraine, a non-NATO nation whose leader is an actor and is apparently now commanding our United States military to world war, which he just did. We must impeach this America last fool before it's too late. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for impeachment for Biden's support of the Ukraine war, which is, I believe, is impeachment worthy, if anything is. So now you have this, and I need to find a screenshot. There's another screenshot showing Trump announcement where he's going to East Palestine, Ohio. So now you have to think about this. You got Biden visiting Nazis and fascists in Ukraine, doing photo ops. Here, I didn't have this prepared, but you can find this anywhere. I'm gonna look Biden, Ukraine. Watch this. I'm pulling this up. I'm gonna literally pick. I'm gonna show you the Google. This is everywhere right now. The Biden surprise visit to Zelensky, right? Here, this is the first one I saw. Biden's Ukraine visit upstages Putin, of course. Yeah, it's always ridiculous. Look, this is the photo op they did. This is the big thing. Biden's in Ukraine. It's all over Twitter. I'll just show you this article here. So instead of this, we now have Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump outflanking them and saying, we visiting East Palestine. Meanwhile, you guys don't care about the American people. You guys care more about Ukraine. This is not the messaging that the progressive left. The last shit I have, and then we get to the Bernie story after this. You have Joe Biden, who's a fucking social democrat when it comes to Ukraine. Meanwhile, where's the support for East Palestine? Let's play this video.
Can't hear anything if we're supposed to be hearing something.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me. I don't know. They did an update, but they changed the menu. My bad. Here, let me This is a video of
So it looked like Joe Biden doing something.
oh shit. Sorry, this update really fucked me up. Sorry, let me know if the audio worked. It looks different, but let's see if this works.
And to deliver humanitarian assistance as well as food, water.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it. They started doing that to me
shelter,
on Twitter.
and other aid to Ukrainians displaced by Russia's war, and provide aid for those seeking refuge in other countries from Ukraine. It's also going to help schools and hospitals open. It's going to allow pensions and social support to be paid to the Ukrainian people so they have something in their pocket. It's also going to provide critical resources to address food shortages around the globe.
So Joe Biden is a social democrat in Ukraine. in the United States, he's a hardcore trickle-down economic capitalist. But in Ukraine, let's fill the pensions. Let's get them a little money in their pocket. Where's the money in the pocket for East Palestine, Ohio? Where's the money in the pocket for Flint, Michigan?
It's almost like they're intentionally trying to create a movement to take them out, because this type of thing where people can clearly point out these are white workers y'all motherfuckers don't give a fuck about. There's black workers over there you don't give a fuck about, and we put it together because this is shining a glaring light on how they don't give a fuck about this community that we are talking about 10 days or more than that now. Going into 2 weeks since they first started burning this shit, nothing. And he's in Ukraine. And Nick, you understand, Trump got some smart people on his shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they said, oh, he going to freaking Ukraine. We're going to fucking East Palestine. And then we're going to talk about it. Just ingenious. Go ahead, Nick.
Now, this is Jimmy. Biden is blocking sick leave and crushing railroad unions at home, but he's really committed to making Ukrainians' lives better because he's a humanitarian. Ukrainians will have all the help they need, including healthcare, clean water, and pensions. We should change our name to Ukraine. So when it comes to Ukraine, he's a social democrat. But there's no criticism of this coming from Marianne Williamson and Bernie Sanders. Can I emphasize that enough? Because I want to keep that energy, because I'm sure we're going to go to the Bernie segment here next.
Yeah.
That's why I want to cover all this stuff first. All this stuff that anyone with a rational mind would have as a criticism of Biden. Marianne Williamson, Bernie Sanders, nowhere to be found. And not only that, and this will be prefaced, and we can do an announcement before we transition to the next segment, because I'm officially done that, and I'll pass to you.
Yeah, I have the Bernie video.
You have Bernie straight up lying. And I haven't seen the video version. I told you before. I watched some headlines, and I saw some quotes, and it's unbelievably bad. It's funny because now there's this boutique left, Bernie industrial complex push for Marianne Williamson. Vanguard had their big panel. Breaking Point's freaking the fuck out doing promo video for Marianne Williamson. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders and the progressives couldn't give a fuck. They were all in on Marianne Williamson. And this is the stuff that Bernie Sanders is saying about Biden. Oh, we don't really need a progressive primary challenger. Biden is just doing just okay. So they're going to launch a Bernie-style campaign against Biden without the support of Bernie Sanders and AOC and the progressive left. How is that going to work? So, CJ, I'll let you pull the video up. And I have some quotes here as well, so we see exactly how much the video covers. Because there are definitely some quotes I want to go over. That's all when I was reading it. But CJ, I'll pass to you if you want to pull the video up, if you have it.
Yeah, I will pull a video up. What I do want to show you, also as I'm pulling this up, and I'll do announcements before we actually get started with the segment. But look at we're about to cover Bernie Sanders on Face the Nation. I just want you to see what
I saw David
Brody's brutal smackdown of corporate media to their faces.
As he pretty much told them how great Joe Biden is. Oh my God! And I don't know if you saw. I saw Rational National on our page before I got on here, and he did the same fucking thing. They literally refuse to show you guys the side of these people that we do on a daily basis. It's look, Bernie Sanders roast CBS News. Beyond parody, man.
Oh, yeah. Like these are two things that are different. When you go to their channel and you hear Bernie Sanders, the videos will be completely opposite, and Matt does videos. You come to our channel, Matt does videos, and Bernie Sanders videos are the complete opposite to theirs. But let me bring up
Bernie. In this interview, Bernie is literally a PR boy for the Democratic Party, but they describe it as he's roasting the news media. Oh my God, Bernie doing such a good job defending Biden. I haven't seen the interview. I've seen some quote, but this is me watching this interview the first time. We talked about this before, so let's see.
It'll be hard. It'll be. I mean, I don't know if it was hard for me to watch, but quickly, let's quickly get to some announcements. Make sure you like the stream where you at. We got up to like 525 people watching. Can we get to 500 likes? Last time I checked, we were at about 300. So 200 more people hit that like button. Next thing, join our Substack if you would like notifications of when we drop clips and when we, what's the other thing? Oh, when we go live. And then also op-eds will be coming in the future. We'll be writing those on our Substack also. And the last thing, you get access to our Discord if you join our Substack. Thank you to everybody that got us at 31,000. We're sitting at 31,200 plus. So hit that like button. The chat is open to people who are brand new. So join and subscribe. And the chat is open today. Decided to open up to just more than just subscribers. And then here's our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. Our email, info@revblacknetwork.com. And then one more time, let's try to get to 500 likes. 200 more people hit that like button to get us to 500 likes. And let's see. Oh, we got super chats actually. Probably should get through some of these. Yeah. Let me read a couple of super chats here. And then we will get to the Bernie video. So this first super chat, this one, actually, let me change the framing so I can see this larger. There we go. Vanguard had Marianne Williamson panel yesterday. Marianne Williamson will be like Bill Weld in 2020. And I don't even know who Bill Weld, and maybe that's the point of your super chat. Thank you for your super chat there. And then Zoya was just reminding me of I had a brain fart earlier where I thought I couldn't remember the name of the podcast, and it was the Punch Up podcast that Lila and Pat are on. And then X, but side tangent, the amount of people celebrating this President's Day is disgusting. These people clearly don't know the atrocities our presidents and the United States has committed in our name and continue to do so.
Liberals actually think that people like Vladimir Putin has a higher kill count than Barack Obama, Joe Biden, George. Even with this war, his kill count is nowhere near the biggest tyrants that you think of. Nowhere near our presidents. Just be clear.
And then thank you, Aberdeen, for the super sticker, and Chima, I think that's how you say it. Thank you for the $10 super chat. The last generation of neocons were at least smart enough to only target weaker countries. Yep. This generation is so dense that they think they can conquer nuclear winter. They can conquer nuclear winter even after the entire planet burns. That's a great point. Thank you for all of the super chats. If I missed any, we will try to round back again and see if we can locate your super chat. Just send us a reminder and we'll try to locate your super chat. All right, so Nick, you're going in kind of blind to this video. Now you've read some of the stuff. You've read the print.
I just checked again. This is from the same interview, so we on the same page here. So I'm sure you're gonna say some of this stuff. I might go over this article anyway because it's horrible. But
absolutely,
I remember in my last thing I'm gonna say I want the video to play because once again I haven't seen the actual interview. I told you guys I read my news most of the time Only a step when I'm trying to get up on these motherfuckers. But remember during my interview when I accurately told Marianne Williamson that Bernie Sanders' role is to do PR for Joe Biden? And then she said, I don't see Bernie this way because I do nothing but watch secular talk. When you see their videos, when you see their video, you see why now. They never show what they do as PR agents of the Democratic Party. Why we do? We show you videos of AOC clapping with Chuck Schumer as they booed an anti-war rally protester out. David Doe and Kyle Kalinske not going to show you that. Anyway, let's go into the video because I got a lot of critiques of this interview, just based on some of the quotes I read. This, as you said to me earlier behind the scenes, it's going to be way worse when I actually hear this guy say it.
Let me know when you hear the quotes that you've already read.
I'm gonna be watching. So
I'm curious to know which ones they are. All right, everybody. Here's Face the Nation, Bernie Sanders.
We're now joined by Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who is out with a new book. It's okay to be angry about capitalism. Good morning, Senator. Good to have you here in person.
Thank you.
It's okay to be angry about capitalism, but we're going to prop it up. We're going to prop it up in this military-industrial complex. That's what we're going to prop up the surveillance state. But it's okay to be angry at it, though, as long as you prop it up. Okay, is that right, Bernie?
I think the better name should be "It's okay if you want to destroy capitalism." I think that's a better name. Bernie could have went down, but I
want to talk about one of the things you flesh out in the book. You talk about the alliance you formed with Joe Biden during the campaign to really shape the Democratic platform and incorporate many of your.
That is such not an accurate description of what happened.
And I'm going to debunk that.
You said he wasn't.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bernie is 100% okay with this lie. They're going to continue to propagate. I don't know how this interview go. I just read a few of these stories. They presented this thing where Bernie met up with Joe Biden, and then they got this progressive agenda, and Biden delivered. Bernie is selling fiction to people. Let the interview continue. I want to see how it goes because I had the format slightly different, but I want to see how the interview goes because he's selling you this bullshit, and I literally got receipts. I'm going to show you how Biden lied on even the basic promises of the progressive task force. And they in the task force, Bernie and AOC, and pretending the exact opposite is true. It's unbelievable. Let's continue.
Well, this is what we could do because I like when we pause the video, bring up a receipt, and then come back to video. So if you have a receipt, just let me know. We can pause the video, bring that receipt, and come up and come back because it's a good way of debunking point by point as we're watching it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to watch all of it and then debunk them all at the end, I do like him to debunk them as he's bringing them up. So. Let me know. Here we go.
As bold as you would have hoped, but he would have been.
Let me rewind a second so we can get the context of that "but" part there.
He would have been the most progressive president since FDR if he had acted.
Okay, I gotta rewind it because, of course, I gotta hear that garbage. Let me rewind it some more here. Here we go.
During the campaign to really shape the Democratic platform and incorporate many of your ideas. You said he wasn't as bold as you would have hoped, but he would have been the most progressive president since FDR if he had acted on that agenda. How do you categorize Joe Biden on that progressive scale now?
Well, I think the American Rescue Plan that we passed early in his agenda in the midst of the terrible pandemic, the economic collapse, was in fact one of the most significant pieces of legislation for the working class of this country in the modern history of America.
Understand that this is such this is one of the most used propaganda tools in history. What does that mean, Bernie, tangibly, if you've never invested in the working class? You get what I'm saying? If you invest a penny, then you can go, I've invested the most I've ever done in history. You get what I'm saying? So it's always a starting point you have to examine when they use that propaganda tactic.
And Bernie knows he's misleading people when he say that. Being the most progressive president among Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, who tamed black wealth, George W. But this is not an accomplishment. And we broke down many times how Build Back Better, these progressive policies that Biden implemented, was half measures that did nothing for the working class. Right. Biden did nothing to keep the child tax credit that they lied about. But there's no criticism of that, Bernie. It's instead playing a big what if. What if we got this passed? You know we wouldn't have got passed. That's the point. That's the point of the failure of organizing the Democratic Party. But let's continue the video. I'm sure it gets worse. I'm sure it gets.
Back better. would have been transformational.
No, it had not.
It
No,
would
it
have
wasn't.
finally addressed the
Yeah, just lying.
Just lying.
Like this to me, like the description of it is gone beyond exaggeration to a lie.
Yeah.
It's beyond exaggeration. Go ahead. Okay, let's go.
crises that the working class in this country has faced for decades, revolutionized childcare, revolutionized healthcare, dealt boldly with climate change, raised wages. I mean, it would have done a whole lot.
But the votes weren't there.
We got 0 Republican support and 2 Democrats decided.
That's legislative branch, Bernie. Like, this is why you bring up legislative branch shit when we talk about Biden. Talk about what he did with the executive branch, DHS, the military, taking COVID relief money. You guys see how the boutique left, the progressive left have no. Well, I know Bernie does know how to work. His job is to dumb the left down and get people who have no idea what the hell is going on. You're talking about the failure of Congress. This had nothing to do with Biden. You can say Biden can whip the votes, but his job as commander in chief. Let's see what he did with DHS funding. Look at executive orders. Look at what he's doing in the military. That's his job. You're deflecting the fact that he is the same as Donald Trump when it comes to commander-in-chief shit. You understand? But this is the deeply unserious rhetoric that goes on in corporate media and among the boutique left, where they talk about Biden. Oh my God, look how this is a progressive thing the legislative branch didn't accomplish. Let's credit Biden for that for some reason. The fuck? Let's continue.
In terms of how you view the president, do you think he is progressive?
I think he.
Now, a person who's on the left would have said, well, it clearly, based on his history, hell the fuck no, he's not progressive. He is center right. That is the answer that should have came out of Bernie Sanders' mouth. And I think this is one of the things that have tipped. This quote that comes up next is one of the things that is getting people most upset of some of his quotes that they talk about in his articles. So let's listen. I'll rewind it just about 5 seconds so we can get the full question again and then get his answer.
Decided not to support it.
So in terms of how you view the president, do you think he is progressive?
I think he is a much more progressive president than he was a United States senator. And I think as a result of the campaign and the task force.
Oh, he's more progressive than Crime Bill Joe. How? For one, he took COVID relief money and gave it to the police. Democrat mayors are funding the police more on record levels. DHS and ICE, remember the thing that AOC said she cared about? Biden is funding ICE to historic levels. So when you say you're more progressive than him as a senator, what's that? For one, what does that even mean, considering they got different roles? When Joe Biden was a senator, he voted for war. When Joe Biden was a president, he voted for war. So what do you even mean by when you say this? When Joe Biden was a senator, he spanned the police. When Joe Biden was the president, he spanned the police. Like, it is lies. Let's continue.
Forces we did together. You recall we had task forces during his campaign and my campaign. I think we came up with an agenda that was progressive. Obviously, we were not able to get everything we wanted to get done.
In some of the things you were able to get done and signed into law, President Biden points to them as achievements, but you diminish them a little bit in this book. You point out Medicare won't be permitted to negotiate lower drug prices until 2026. Right. The cap on out-of-pocket prescription drug costs for seniors doesn't kick in until 2025. $35 cap on insulin prices doesn't help those who aren't on Medicare. Are you saying?
You see how him just literally stating a fact is a criticism. There was no criticism there. He's literally just saying when it kicks in and when this happens, but bringing it up, I guess, is the critique in the book, or either that she's using it to set up this nonsensical question that's coming up next.
Cap on out-of-pocket prescription drug costs for seniors doesn't kick in until 2025. $35 cap on insulin prices doesn't help those who aren't on Medicare. Are you saying he hasn't delivered?
No. I mean, look, this is the real world that we live in. Is that you need 60 votes often in the Senate, and Democrats had a slim majority.
How is that
delivered? He hasn't delivered. Go ahead if you're going to chime in. I can't see you. Go ahead.
How is that an excuse of what he what he could get accomplished, of the lies that he did. Expand Social Security benefits, didn't get accomplished. Eliminate cash bail, nothing done. No attempt to increase the federal minimum wage. No attempt at doing any of this stuff. It's unbelievable. Let's continue.
$35 cap on insulin prices doesn't help those who aren't on Medicare. Are you saying he hasn't delivered?
No. I mean, look, this is the real world that we live in, is that you need 60 votes often in the Senate, and Democrats had a slim majority in the House. But what I am talking about, Mark, and what the book is about, is taking a hard look at the reality facing working families in this country. And the truth is that today, over 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. So the question that I am asking is, why in the richest country in the history of the world, why don't we have a healthcare system that works for all, where people can walk into the doctor's office as they do in Canada without having to take out their wallet?
And that's a great point, because the person and the team you're on will veto it. Your friend Biden.
You guys see the ridiculousness of this? They said, do you think Biden had delivered? He said, oh, I wouldn't say that. Then he go list how the working class is struggling. He said, oh my God, Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, 4 out of 10 Americans can't afford healthcare. But I wouldn't say Biden didn't deliver. Who's been in charge for the last 40 years, Bernie? He's president right now, and he's more focused on taking COVID relief funds to the police than he is providing healthcare to people. The state of the working class right now is worse than it was 2-3 years ago, and that's a fact. And they always repeat this word salad nonsense to do defense for Joe Biden. Let's continue, CJ.
Why do we spend twice as much per capita on healthcare? Why do we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? So we have seen some achievements, but given the scope of the problems and where we should be going, nowhere near enough.
We also have one of the most innovative healthcare systems when it comes to creation of pharmaceutical drugs. You are doing this.
No.
So when someone hears you lay out the problems with our pharmaceutical industry, as you do in this book, it's say, but the life-saving vaccines, for example, for COVID, they were created by the United States of America. They were created by the pharmaceutical system with taxpayer help.
Sure. Of course, the drug companies produce great drugs, but 1 out of 4 people in America cannot afford the drugs that their doctors prescribe. You tell me why we pay 10 times more for some drugs that are sold in the United States compared, say, to Canada or to other countries, while year after year, the pharmaceutical industry makes tens of billions of dollars in profits, pays their CEOs exorbitant salaries. So of course,
I'm almost at the point, Nick, because I've heard this spiel, inequality. I'm at the point. It's like, Bernie, we've heard this.
It's disgusting when you know he don't fight against anything.
That's the point. That's where I'm getting to. It's like you keep talking. What is the thing to do it? Let's do the thing to do it now.
So Joe Biden
just talking.
Joe Biden and his policies are directly responsible for Big Pharma making record profits. Big Oil is making record profits. So you criticize capitalist greed, but you apologize for the man on top? Say he's doing better than expected? Saying the most progressive of all time as Big Oil and these CEOs are making record profits. Let's continue.
We want the drug companies to do the research and development. And by the way, taxpayers in this country spend $45 billion a year through the NIH to help with that research and development, including Moderna and the vaccine.
You're talking about Moderna. Pfizer didn't take that money, but Moderna, you're sharply critical. In fact, you're chair of the Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And next month, you're calling in Moderna's CEO to testify. You're critical of his plan to quadruple the cost of the COVID vaccine.
Well,
can you stop him from doing that?
Well, here.
I must pick up on what she just did. The framing. Understand who she's bought by. Why is she saying you're critical of the doubling? Why is it framed that way? Are you not critical of the doubling of medication? As a journalist, you're not critical of that? To me, the framing is telling, and in a lot of the questioning that she's doing, it's clear she's representing corporate America in the framing of some of her questions, and this is one of them.
Here's the story. taxpayers, the NIH co-authored, worked together to create the vaccine.
Right.
Taxpayers put billions of dollars into the development of the vaccine, guaranteed sales for the vaccine.
As they did with many other companies.
Yep.
Too.
All right. And then
You see what I mean? Why is a journalist chiming in to say, give this other company a credit? Like, she is literally a representative, the corporate representative who's interviewing this loose cannon. We don't know what he could possibly say. It's ridiculous.
what happens after the government stockpile of the vaccine expires? These guys say, well, we're going to quadruple the price of the vaccine. And by the way, in the last 2 years, the CEO made $5 billion and his other guys made billions of dollars. Is that really what should be happening? Truth is, pharmaceutical industry is enormously greedy.
Never brings it up.
Never brings it up. Not important, apparently.
Charging us outrageously, uncontrollably high prices. We have got to deal with that. As chairman of the relevant committee, I intend to do what I can.
Moderna says it's instituting a patient assistance plan to give the COVID shot to the uninsured and underinsured Americans free of cost. Is that sufficient?
And you know,
why is she bringing that up? You see what I'm saying? Like, she's interjecting. All of her interjections are about helping the corporate representation.
Yeah,
that's what all her interjections go towards.
Yeah, you think she coming up with that on her own, on the fly, or is she getting fed those talking points? They get paid. Big Pharma is one of their biggest advertisers.
Exactly.
Big weapon industry, the biggest advertisers. People think they get the news from these people. These people literally are salespeople of their biggest advertisers, like Big Pharma and Big Oil, the military industrial complex. And you see here, that's why you see these segments where they actually go to Biden's right on Ukraine war funding. And it's funny when you look at Jake Sullivan and Antony Blinken, the media, like, why are you not sending more weapons to Ukraine? They're like, the fuck? You know how much we sent? If they do that because their job is to advocate for the weapon manufacturers. But let's continue the video here.
Margaret, amazing coincidence. That happened the same exact day as we announced that we were inviting them to testify.
You think your political heat made that difference?
Well, maybe it was just a wild and crazy coincidence. I don't know. But we also want to take a look at what that patient program is about. We're talking to them about that. But obviously, it's a step.
Man, they are so comfortable with Bernie on that on corporate TV now. They know you're not going to say anything too dangerous. She's just so chummy and relaxed with them now. That's how you know. They know Bernie's going to come on here to defend Biden. They're going to have this little play scrimmage, right? But they know they here to do one role only. Push the corporate agenda. Bernie's going to do this dance where he defend Biden. And it's deeply impressive. And this is the person that people want to run in 2024. A guy who this week on the criticism of Joe Biden. But let's continue.
When we recently saw AOC do the same thing.
Yep.
So both AOC and Bernie are comfortable now in corporate media. When's the last time you seen Bernie Sanders do a 30-minute interview on a corporate media? Like, when's the last time that happened?
Why don't they have Chris Hedges on? Like, I want you guys to ask these questions. Norman Finkelstein, Gerald Horn, Maury Kimberly, all these intellectuals. I'm not even telling them to talk to my hood ass, my ignorant ass. Talk to one of these intelligent people that say what I say. They don't even do it. They won't talk to Glenn Greenwald. He was part of the corporate media circle at one point. Don't talk to him anymore. But they're safe with Bernie Sanders, though. That alone should say a lot. The fact that Sam Cedar get an invite on MSNBC to say a lot. They feel safe with you on camera for an hour. Wow. Let's continue.
Step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction. How do you lower the cost of prescription drugs in a way that doesn't hurt American innovation? And
oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Did you just hear the defense of capitalism question she just did?
The reason why prescription drugs... No, take the inverse of what she said. The inverse of what she said is the reason why prescription drugs are so high is because they've been innovating. That is absurd. There's been evidence showing that Big Pharma, it'll cost them $30 to make a drug, and then they will charge you $900 for it. How is that innovation? How would that block innovation, stopping that from happening? It's wild. But we can
we can continue. Yeah, we can continue.
how do you do it politically when Republicans control the House?
You know, I saw a poll that was done just for Republicans. And you know what Republicans regarded as the major priority they were concerned of? High cost of prescription drugs. All right. So I think we have the basis for bipartisan work to tell the pharmaceutical industry that they really have got to stop ripping off the American people. A number of ways you could do it. The Inflation Reduction Act started by having Medicare negotiate prices with the pharmaceutical industry. Doesn't kick in for a few years.
Yep.
I think we should expedite that. Number two, of all people, my good friend Donald Trump, all right, who I disagree with on everything, had the idea that maybe Medicare should not pay prices higher than the average of what countries around the rest of the world are paying. That's a good idea, and we want to pursue that as well. And there's the concept of reimportation, that if Americans can buy drugs in Canada or in Europe at a fraction of the price, let's have pharmacists and distributors be able to purchase those drugs and sell them at much lower cost in the United States.
This involves state subsidies of some form, government subsidies.
CJ, check
She has no problem with government subsidies going to all of these corporations, but you see how she's trying to say, wait, you're trying to get a government subsidy to these people? That's what she's trying to do in representing the corporate America that she's doing on this network.
If I was in your position, I'll play dumb, and I don't use your language, like like sanctions, right? I'm like, what the fuck you mean? When you talk about Americans, when you talk about subsidy, I'll look at you right in your face. What do you mean? What do you mean subsidy? I literally don't know what you mean. Make them explain what the fuck that is. When they come to us, they say, "Oh my God, government handouts, entitlements." But when it's them, it's a subsidy. You see how they come up with these tricky capitalist
special words.
It's a subsidy for them. It's a handout for us. No, you tell me what the fuck a subsidy is. The same way you tell me what a sanction is. You're not gonna use these fucking silver tongue words with me and trick me. We're gonna have a real conversation. When you say subsidy, you mean a handout, government taxpayer handout to a business because we have a certain central planning model. So they say we get subsidies to farmers and big oil because of X reason, because of this reason. So you're picking the winners and losers. You guys see how this whole free market thing never existed? It doesn't exist. You have a central planning model. It is based on who have the power. And capitalists, they get subsidies to other capitalists. What we want to own the means of production that will actually be way more efficient, and we don't have to worry about begging these people for shit. Anyway, let's continue the video because
that does not involve subsidies. That simply says if you can buy a drug in Canada, same drug for 1/10 of the price, passes FDA specifications, it should be sold in this country at a lower price.
And you think you can do this with Republicans in control of the House? Do you think the votes are there?
I think there's a lot of support for dealing with the high cost of prescription drugs. Yes, I do.
I want to ask you about what's politically possible in that makeup.
So this is a good question to end the segment on. This question here: what's politically possible?
Congress right now, Democrats have this narrow 51-seat majority in the Senate. You're an independent, but you caucus with the Democrats. Both of Pennsylvania's senators are out of office right now dealing with serious health issues.
This is something I did not know. Like, I heard that Fetterman was hospitalized for something, but I just assumed it would be something quick and he was already out. I did not know this part, that both of them were still hospitalized.
And so their absence complicates any votes. Do you have any idea when, for example, Senator Fetterman will be out of the hospital and well enough to return?
We wish Senator Fetterman has gone through a hell of a year. I mean, with his stroke in the middle of a campaign and dealing with other issues. So I can't answer that. I think Bob
Imagine
Casey
what the workers been through.
was dealing with.
Supposed to feel bad for this fuck. 4 out of 10 Americans can't get health care because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to feel bad for this fuck who can get medical care. Call me an asshole if you want, but I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I feel more upset about the Americans who can't afford health care. That's me. But go ahead, Bernie.
No, I agree completely.
Cancer will be back, as I understand it, in early March.
This is a big what if. I mean, this is a very key state, Pennsylvania, for Democrats. I mean, are you concerned?
Well,
for the
obviously,
party?
We're concerned, about the health of all of us.
Concerned for the party. I'm saying, I'm laughing because they know the questions to ask Bernie. He's so safe. Are you concerned about the party?
Right.
That's so absurd, man. Let's continue.
They are all back. Bob, I think, will be back. We know that. John, I'm just don't have that information.
Because Pennsylvania, in so many ways, also is an example of a lot of what you talk about in terms of the working class, mixing with the concerns you have there. Are you concerned that that state is, if there has to be a special election, for example, or if Casey doesn't run, that it goes to the Republicans?
Bob will be back in a few weeks. Okay. But so let's not speculate on it. But like Pennsylvania, like Vermont, like other countries, like other states in our country, the people in those states are hurting. And the question of the book, again, is that how come we have so many people who are struggling? We have a dysfunctional healthcare system. Our childcare system is in disarray. We got millions of elderly people who have nothing in the bank as they face retirement, and yet the people on top are doing phenomenally well. And Margaret, what the book is about is saying that we have more income and wealth inequality today than we've ever had. We have more concentration of ownership in sector after sector than we have ever had. We have a political system which is increasingly corrupt because as a result of Citizens United, billionaires can put enormous amounts of money into it to elect their candidates. And we have, 8 major media conglomerates, corporate media conglomerates that control about what 90% of the American people see, hear, and read. Those are really issues that we need to discuss.
Listen to this question she has right here.
Do you worry when you talk about the corporate media that you are targeting journalists when you say that?
That's one, corporate media, there's no journalists. And the fact that she said that was disturbing. Now, I want to fast forward to this last part because I want you to hear how they try to call out Bernie about the book title, but then point out how he's selling something at a high cost. So let's listen. It's at the very end. They threw it in at the very end.
On why we have a dysfunctional healthcare system. Does that have anything to do with who owns the major networks? Bernie, what are you going to do about income and wealth inequality? Do you demand, why are billionaires paying an effective tax rate lower than working class people? No one asked me those questions. Okay.
No one tells us the questions to ask.
I understand that, but there's a culture.
So let me just tell you, if you go and watch those videos by some of the boutique left, this is the section that they're talking about. You want to know what section they ignored? The beginning, they skip all of that first part. The first 15 minutes, they skip.
Yeah, and the last part I'm going to add, and I'm sorry I gotta leave out early, but my brothers are here. I said 2 hours. I don't want to.
No worries, no worries.
While my brothers are here, so I want to share this part because the rest of it is not too important. But this is, damn, they really did change it. So I'm struggling. I don't know if you noticed as well. They changed the format
on Twitter.
Oh no, on StreamYard. I don't know what the hell's going on. But anyway, I'm gonna show you. This is the part that I'm not sure any channel showed because this is the part in the interview where apparently Bernie throws cold water on Marianne Williamson 2024.
What?
Look at this. Sanders said he would support Biden if he ran for re-election in 2024, adding that he'd done a good job, but wouldn't speculate whether other Democrats would challenge the incumbent president. And look at this part. You're going to have the Bernie wing, the AOC party, undermining Marianne Williamson's campaign. This is going to be hilarious to watch. I'm going to have popcorn.
That's what I'm saying. It's so insane. Go ahead.
This comes from Bernie. I think there is a general consensus right now that President Biden has done not everything we would like. Well, sorry, not everything we would like, but he has done a good job. This is Bernie saying he's doing a good job. And again, I can't speak for anybody else, but what I have to say is if he announces that he's going to run, I will support him. So, guys, you're going to have Marianne Williamson running with the breaking points left. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is going to be like, nah, I endorse Joe Biden, bro.
Yeah, and then when they come, they're going to come to him and say, Bernie, there's this quasi-left person named Marianne Williamson running, and she's saying this, and this about Biden. Well, I don't agree with that. Well, he is doing a good job here. He is doing this. He is doing that. So what? You get what you, and then like, how does that dynamic play out? You're just going to take $100 million 50 million, 25 million, even 10 million from working people, when you know you clearly can't win without the apparatus of the Bernie. You can't just have your friends in media that's getting constantly debunked by RBN. That's not working. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have their fun. They're gonna make a lot of money doing this electoral politics dance. I mean, and we're gonna be there to point out how absurd what they're doing is, and we're gonna make sure that you guys don't waste your funds. They're gonna ask you guys for funds. We're here to tell you to donate to mutual aid instead. Donate to invest into your local politics instead. Don't focus on these fucking politicians like Marianne Williamson, who's running a vanity project, and then when called out for it, she said she's being an abolitionist. Actually, it's beyond parody. So let's read this part. Go this part one more time because I want to emphasize this again. You have breaking points that says Bernie Sanders is going to mount Marianne Williamson is going to mount a Bernie Sanders style run. Now, in the Bernie Sanders style run, it was quite impressive how he got Pramila Jayapal, he got Ro Khanna, he had all the boutique fake progressives that formed a coalition with him. Marianne is not even going to have that, guys. That thing where they show up at rallies, they got AOC at the speaker at rallies, not going to happen with Marianne. But somehow, she's going to propel herself and defeat Biden and win South Carolina. So theorists have said, because the president never been primary by his own party, at least in the modern age of politics, the only way you can possibly do that is if you start out strong, right? Because so that sends a message. I don't need this article up anymore. So that sends a message that I am a legitimate challenger. Because most people won't view the president as having a legitimate challenger. So most people who theorize about how this will be done, you got to get a win early, right? You got to make yourself legitimate out of the gate. The media, because they don't like the Bernie wing, they're already writing her off as crazy orb lady, already treating her as a joke. And then South Carolina is going to come, and because the Democrats rid the primary, that Biden's most powerful state, she's going to get destroyed in the first primary, and then she's going to become immediately irrelevant in the race. And then you're going to have people like Bernie and people that say, oh, Marianne, you need to drop out of the race because the only thing you're doing is weakening Biden, and you're going to make him weaker in the general election. So, breaking points. This is why Vanguard invited me on the panel, despite people tagging me and all in the thread. Because I was playing this basic fact on how this is going to go for them. And they're going to pretend, oh, we got a chance. You never know what's going to happen. We're going to look in our crystal ball. They know exactly. No, we know what the fuck is going to happen. And then she's going to lose. And then she's going to endorse and take all that quote-unquote revolutionary energy and take it back to the Democratic Party. What we're doing at RBN is we're trying to cut the head off the snake before this shit gets started. To us, to me, it's obvious what's going to happen here. And Bernie Sanders, with this interview, and as we said before, I brought this up over a week ago, CJ. What is the Marianne Williamson left going to do when the progressives don't join her side? Pramila Jayapal is the person who convinced Bernie Sanders to drop out because she didn't want to weaken Joe Biden. So as soon as South Carolina happens, as soon as the first few polls hit that show Marianne Williamson at 2%, they're going to immediately call for her to drop out. Immediately. You have people immediately.
Because to your point, Nick, sorry to interrupt you, but to your point, same thing happened with Obama. Remember, they thought Hillary Clinton's about to be president. Yeah. The only way Obama had a chance is because the first 3 states he really had to play, and I think he won 2 of the 3. I can't remember. I know he won 1 of the 3, but the first 3 states where you have to make a name. So when people say, "Wait a minute, who's this guy?" Then he started getting this flood of money, and that's when the race began. So, but she's not going to have that because South Carolina's first, because Michigan is like 3rd or something like that. You're not going to have that.
That's why it was an amazing move by Biden, because I could imagine if a president loses that first primary challenge, because this is how the theory works, the electoral theory. You lose that first primary, and then you say, "Oh, I'm a strong candidate than the president." Why will you risk running the president when I won the first few primaries? I'm clearly the strong candidate. You don't want Trump to win, right? Marianne Williamson going to have none of that, which is why it was such a corrupt but also genius move of Biden to move South Carolina front, because he just killed any chance of a progressive primary challenge. Because Bernie, with the momentum of winning Nevada, Iowa, and New Hampshire, with everyone endorsing them, still got blown the fuck back because of the corrupt DNC strategy and because of Jim Clyburn's influence. Because I was on the ground in South Carolina. It was crazy. But Marianne Williamson, Vanguard, Breaking Points, she's going to do what Bernie Sanders couldn't do. With the fraction of a coalition, with no grassroots support, while supporting the Ukraine war. And she's going to do what Biden did not do and make a competitive race out of this. It's absurd. It is nonsense. And this is the kind of stupidity that RBN is done with. The working class should have nothing to do with this stupidity. And if the boutique left think we are toxic, if they think we are mean because we don't want them to lead workers down nonsense, I am more than happy to accept that. Because we're done with the polite politics, civility politics, where you guys are leading the workers down stupid ass bullshit and no one supposed to say anything because we're not supposed to be rude. We're not supposed to be mean. Marianne Williamson 2024, this is my last statement, is a joke. Everyone who's pushing it is a joke who is trying to mislead workers and lead them off a cliff. Period. That's my final thoughts. I gotta go. I'm a hypocrite. Usually, sorry I got cut early, but tell you my family home. They really
can't wait.
They're nice because they let me have it. They let me rent for an hour. I feel bad when I do more than 2 hours because they always shut it down. So
they're always in the corner waiting for you. When can people see you? And then when are people gonna see you next? And then just take off.
Yeah, I'll join you guys tomorrow at RBN Live. We might do a breakdown of Rage Against the Machine protest. We see. Yeah, it'd be good to do it when we have everyone there. Maybe Savvy might join. I'm not gonna say for sure. I'll be careful.
Yeah, we don't know yet. If Savvy joins, though, for sure we'll cover it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know Savvy's tired, so I probably should be careful. So Savvy's tired. So I won't blame her for taking tomorrow off. So anyway, Nick at Night Wednesday evening. I'm gonna book a guest. I don't have any announcements yet for that. So make sure you guys tune in Wednesday at. I've been doing that 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's a good time. Nick at Night. Make sure you tune in at that. So that's all I have. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and support us on Patreon if you guys want to see us expand. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
This hasn't been getting a lot of coverage, and the coverage that it has been getting hasn't been very good. So let's talk about the trail derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine's about an hour north of Pittsburgh, almost halfway to Cleveland. Norfolk Southern has a rail line that goes right through town, and this derailment happened right on the edge outside of town on the border of PA and Ohio. Of the cars that crashed, 5 of them contained vinyl chloride. It's a monomer used to make PVC. The reporting on this has gotten vinyl chloride confused with polyvinyl chloride, the polymer made out of vinyl chloride. Now, the reason that this distinction is really important is vinyl chloride is very hazardous and very flammable. Polyvinyl chloride is a plastic that's used in like everything. The other thing about vinyl chloride is that it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's shipped in its liquid form. Meaning that when these trains crashed and these started leaking, they weren't just leaking liquid, but they were spewing boiling gas. So vinyl chloride is really toxic. OSHA has the permissible limit of how much you can be exposed to it during an 8-hour shift as a 1 ppm part per million, average over 8 hours. So prior to this, the biggest spill of this chemical was in New Jersey, where one train car and about 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride were spilled, but it didn't catch on fire. Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. One, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Politicians also just repeat the same lines, and then news outlets just repeat the same. So all we're hearing is the responsible party's word.